Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the August 19th Waterboro Planning Board meeting to order. Prior to the start of this meeting at 6 p.m., we did a site walk for the proposed salt shed for the town of Waterboro. In addition to all the planning board members here tonight were present. In addition, the town administrator, the director of public works, Owen McCullough, were all at the site also. We were presented with showing the corners of the building, showing how that the building would be. Oh, I'm sorry. Lee J too. Sorry. I meant to realize everybody Taylor. We were showing the corners of the building, and then also Sebago Technics Owen talked to us about the deed restrictions that would be in place because it is going over the former settling lagoons. One lagoon will be underneath the salt shed. The other lagoon will be capped with a clay cap. So we got to see that earlier this evening, and the town is also on as our second agenda item for the night. Our first agenda is Danny Albert, map 39, lot 3, Connolly Road, setback reduction relocation, primary structure in Shoreland. Oh. Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
I guess you want a sort of a summary of what we're looking to
please.
do. Okay. You have two plans, one 8.5 by 11 and one that was enlarged to an 11 by 17.
Just the aerial.
Hold on, they're coming. On the 11 by 17 plan, I've highlighted where we're just sort of thinking about where Dan would like to relocate his house, and I'll explain to you why that location is where it is.
Thank you.
The reason that he would like to rebuild his house is because it's not within zoning or not within code right now. It has 2x4 walls. It has 2x6 roof rafters, or whatever those are called, and the foundation, which is, if you look on the plan, you'll see on the outer limits there's a fieldstone and mortar retaining wall that was built long time ago, and that's cracking and needs to.
Can you raise the microphone?
Oh. You mean you can't hear me? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. That fieldstone mortar retaining wall is cracking and needs to be replaced. The house is built on a concrete block foundation, and the rear of that foundation, which is toward Connolly Point, is starting to bow, and they've had a lot of water problems down there. So that's the reason that Dan has decided he would like to rebuild the structure. Now, the reason for the new placement is because he would also like to go 4 feet wider. And that reason being is that then he could at least put a stairway in there. I mean, 24 by 36 is not a very large structure, and a 20 by 34, which is the existing structure, is of course even smaller. So the reason that I shifted it down along where that existing mortar and stone wall is because I was trying to be sensitive to the shoreland setback. Now you can see the shoreland setback that's toward Connolly Point, but that's actually referring to another piece of Ossipee Lake, which is down just over the title. Okay, this entire structure is in the shoreland zone for the lake on the other side. But I was being sensitive to that, and that's why I shifted it down. And one of the reasons that we're here tonight is to find out if that really matters. I mean, if we're in the shoreland zone all the way around, does it matter if we encroach on a shoreland zone on the other side of a peninsula?
Our biggest problem is if it's gonna be a complete demo, you can't be more non-conforming.
Okay,
So you, by making it larger, you're making it more non-conforming. Obviously, you're never gonna get your setback, your shoreline setback.
right.
And that's the biggest issue that I see, is it's,
But you allow 30% expansion within the shoreland zone. So how does that,
You can't get closer to the water. 30% usually means you're going up or away from the water. And if it's a complete rebuild, you're obligated by state to start moving it back away from the water. You guys are on a point. So you're kind of limited because you got, what, 3 or 4 sides is water.
right,
we do have a letter from the code enforcement officer from the town. He references 2 things. Article 7, Performance Standards, Section 7.01, Development on Shorelands. Principal and accessory uses, a new principal structure as proposed shall meet the following. Line 3, basement floor shall be elevated at least 1 foot above the 100-year flood. And line number 4, lot coverage shall not exceed 20%. And then letter B, non-conforming structures. Letter C, parenthesis 3, period. Reconstruction or replacement, in part says, in no case shall structure be reconstructed or replaced so as to increase its nonconformity. This structure would be 708 square feet larger than the existing structure, thus making it more nonconforming. And he also attached the actual,
but is that, is that increase in the nonconformity of the lot or increase in the nonconformity of the structure? Because the I believe it refers to the nonconformity of the lot.
right, you make, yeah, because you've made it, by going bigger, the lot is now more non-conforming. Sorry. Just trying to see what your lot coverage is.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think probably one of the more important aspects of the conversation, what you're talking about, and certainly Glenn can chime in because he's been more involved. He had Mike Morris from the DEP out there yesterday, but the real crux of the issue or concern here is that what you can't do is you have to, if you're demolishing a building and you're going to replace it in the shoreland, you have to move it back in the setback to the greatest extent practical. That's the wording from the state law. And in doing that, the question is, do you keep it where it's located, which is approximately 15 feet from the water, or do you move it back on that site to the greatest extent possible? There is an encroachment that would occur into the 100-foot setback from the back side of the property, but you're still going to be 90 plus feet away. And certainly, I think Glenn can speak to that, but I think Mike Morse feels the same way, that from the DEP, that we'd rather have that encroachment and getting it back away from the water as far as possible on the front side of the property than to leave it in its current location.
That makes sense.
Glenn?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
Sit down. Lee J hit a lot of the things right on the nail head. The 30% expansion rule only applies to existing structures that you want to expand. It does not apply to new structures, which obviously this is going to be. The non-conforming is the biggest issue, and what the planning board decides on this will set precedent for future development in shoreland. Setting it back to the greatest extent practical, I think, is good. Lee J and I, and Mike Morris and I, both have gone out there, and there is a possibility of moving the structure further from the closest shoreline, encroaching on the furthest shoreline, and that is only benefiting the resource. It's all about protecting the resource. Principal and accessory uses, there are more items besides 3 and 4. 3 and 4 apply to this case specifically, and I attached the pages which will list you all the criteria that this project falls under. I don't know if Steve has done a flood survey or not. He'll be required to do that for permitting basis. I don't know if he's done that yet or not. So if I can clarify my statements, I'll do so right now. If you have any questions.
On the 20% lot coverage, does that include all impervious surface or just the structure?
It does, and I just want to make the minutes clear that DEP doesn't use impervious surface anymore. That's not a definition for DEP. It's non-vegetated surface. That's the new terminology. So 20% is lot coverage, so you have to include the structure, obviously. Decks, patios, those are all non-vegetated surfaces.
Because right now we're at 7% just with the structure.
Yeah. The current coverage is 27%. The proposed 23%. The requirement is 20%.
So I'm sorry, it's 27% now, the proposed is 23%,
Correct.
but the number is 20%.
The number is 20%. Steve and I have talked a lot about this, obviously. The 23% is not a big hang-up for me. That doesn't mean that it shouldn't be a hang-up for the planning board. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. 20%, 23%, but you have to have a point on which to stop, and that is 20%. If you grant 23%, the next one might be 24. So standards and criteria are in place for a reason. And unfortunately, I think it's time that Waterboro follows some of these. If it's 20%, then it has to be 20%. And that can be done, by the way, by reducing the structure, size of the structure, reducing patio coverage, by reducing non-vegetated surfaces. So that's the terminology you guys need to know now, non-vegetated surfaces.
Members of the board, do you have any questions?
Any recommendations by Glenn and Lee on where they should move this house? Because you've been out there and you,
Yeah, Lee and I measured it. 17 feet brings it to within 3 feet of that tarred easement. And that reminds me, I don't think I know what that easement is. I don't know if it's a right-of-way or if it's an easement by deed. I don't think it's a town road. Unfortunately, I didn't. Do you know what that is, Steve?
It's a right-of-way.
It's a deeded right-of-way?
Deeded
Okay.
right-of-way. Well, it's deeded, there's two other homeowners to the east out
Yep.
onto the peninsula, and they have rights on Connolly.
Okay.
So it's a deeded right-of-way.
So I think 17 feet might be pushing it. I think 8 or 9 or 10 feet is not too much to ask. And you really need to see it. The first day I met Mr. Albert, I said, wow, this is going to be a tough one. And it is.
All right, we should do a site walk. So, members of the board, is that
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, the picture from the overhead looks great, but
It's really flat.
it's kind of hard to see what it really looks like.
Our next meeting is September 2nd. What is 6 p.m. site walk work? Everybody? Is that okay with our calendar? All right, so September 2nd site walk. It looks like we're pretty much, front line is the same as the building, but could you post, just stake out the other 3 corners?
yeah, we've been through this before.
Do you want it staked out in the location that we've got it proposed now,
Yes, please.
or in a new location?
No.
Okay.
Where you proposed it.
All right, I would like to address the 20% coverage. I've done a lot of surveys on non-conforming lots on the lake with people that have done additions and replacement of foundations, and I don't think you're going to find one that's less than 20%.
I
Okay,
agree.
and yeah, and I'm fairly confident that the unwritten rule of that 20% is it really pertains to an undeveloped lot.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do to make it 3% less. I mean, that's not, it wouldn't degrade the
Right,
lot.
but I think that, you know, as the town goes forward, you know, every single one of those homes is going to come before the board. And if that is an issue, then everyone's going to have to struggle. Now, reducing the footprint in the developed area is a good direction to go. But to try to get everybody to 20% isn't going to happen.
Yeah, but it's actually not that bad, Steve. I mean,
It's close. Well, this particular lot is close, but there are some that are 40, 50%.
yeah, and there's stuff that you can do to, you know, I mean, vegetated surface can be recreated.
Right.
And it can still be a nice flat place to put a picnic table.
That's right. But it's going to be, in many cases, very difficult to achieve. And,
In some cases, what's been done before isn't necessarily what we should continue to go forward with.
understood. But if the intent of the DEP was to be, that 20% was to be for undeveloped lots, which it's
Is that somewhere?
Glenn knows something that he didn't share. I think it's an unwritten rule based on the DEP's interpretation of that.
Is that true?
If I may, Mr. Chair?
Please.
We do this with cover.
He's partially right. Mr. Morris did say that, but he also asked me to keep his name out of the picture. Obviously, I didn't do that. Without incriminating myself, I think Steve is correct, but they're demolishing the existing structure, so now it's a new development, so he has to comply with 20%. Now, his claim that somebody else would have a hard time doing that, you have to remember that Mr. Albert is creating his own hardship here. When you create your own hardship, you have to comply with the standards in front of you. If you want to demolish the building, then you need to stay at 20%. You're creating that hardship through no fault of anybody else. It's your decision. So if somebody else comes and they want to do the same thing, they have the existing structure, he could keep that structure and apply the 30% expansion rule and get a permit from me tomorrow. He chooses not to do that. He's going to tear it down and build a new one. A new development, which is what this is, has to comply with the 20% rule.
Okay. Steve, are you good with September 2nd for site walk?
I have something else to say.
Okay.
With a structure that is needing a new foundation and not to current building codes, wouldn't that qualify for a reconstruction under those regulations and not be considered a new development?
Actually, the planning board would have to consider and decide that.
Right, and we can talk about that in the sidewalk.
Not, I mean, I would say not at all. I mean, we're doing a house right now that we're jacking up, putting a foundation under it, setting it back down.
Sure.
And making it conforming to building code. So
Well, how do you do that?
we're stripping it down and
Okay.
we're making it, but I mean, it's totally doable. It's not, you know, we're 3 feet from the shoreline and
Right, but then, you know, in doing all that, then you're going to exceed the 50% value of the current structure that's there. So then, according to the rules, it would allow you to rebuild it.
But if you rebuild, then you're back to
I'm not
square
sure you're
one.
increasing
Well,
it.
not if the structure is damaged or needs repairs of greater than 50% of the value of the structure as it sits right now. That's the way it's written.
I don't
No,
believe that's the case here, but yeah, the
Look at
board
sidewalk.
needs to see it.
Okay.
Okay, let's see, is there anything else I forgot? There's probably a bunch of things, but September 2nd.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
As, two things. As part of that, Steve, if you can set the elevation, find out where or what the floodplain is in that area, and set the base floor elevation at 1 foot above if it's needed.
Yep.
Just so they can see that
I will
as
do
well.
that. I will do that before the 2nd.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing, Mr. Chairman, just as a point of process for you folks, you certainly have set the site walk. I don't see any reason, it's certainly up to the board, but as we move forward and we start getting a little busier, that some of these, as they're coming forward, we could also set the public hearing for that night, if you choose to do that. That's certainly deliberation for the board on each and every one of these items. But I think we ought to try and set those in advance so that we know what our public hearing schedule is going to be moving forward.
I guess my only concern would be is what happens if we have discovery at the site walk, and then they come into a public hearing.
You can certainly still take public input and then table action on the item until the next meeting if you feel you need to do that. You don't feel obligated because you have a public hearing that you have to take action that night.
Okay.
You can close the public hearing and table the item until the following meeting.
For the board, I mean, what's your thoughts on doing the public hearing?
I'd like to wait on this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'd rather wait.
That's fine. I just want to
Okay.
give you folks that option
Due
and know that
consideration on
it's
it.
available for you on any of these applications.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Second thing on our agenda, Town of Waterboro Salt and Sand Shed. Assuming, Owen, you're the spokesperson for this. Like I said, this is Town of Waterboro approved, what's it called? The spending the money, referendum, the bond, borrowing to build this. So this has been, as was explained to us at the sidewalk, this has been in the makings for a couple of years. The longer we delay, the more expensive it gets. There's your 10-second intro.
Thank you. I'm done. Good evening. My name is Owens McCullough, civil engineer, here on behalf of the town of Waterboro. Thank you, everybody, for joining us at the site walk tonight. The town is proposing, as most people are aware, a new sand and salt storage building that's 80 feet by 140 feet in length at the Public Works facility next to the transfer station. There's an aerial map over there that shows where the existing transfer station is, where the current Public Works building is. In the center area, I didn't bring a pointer in. Do I need to take a mic with me if I walk over there and point, or is it loud enough that you can hear me? So in the kind of the cleared open area on the left-hand side is where the town currently has their sand and salt storage pile. It's out of doors, which environmentally is not preferred. Salt is highly soluble and gets into the groundwater. We would like to put it underneath a sand and salt storage building, which is what's proposed in the black area. Oh, thank you. Perfect. And Gary will be back with the laser. I'm ahead of you, Gary. Yeah, because I need to flip this chart too. So here's the sand and salt storage building here. If you've been out and around, you'll see these look like, lack of a better term, Quonset hut. They're a big building that's got an arched curve to it. Their technical term is a laminated arch building. The Department of Transportation builds a lot of them. If you've happened to been down by the one in Doug, where did we? Doug's not here. Orno's, no, but I mean the one that Shapley built one a couple years ago that is almost identical to what we're proposing to build. It's a very functional building. There's laminated arches inside, lots of clearance inside, a high concrete wall so that you can store all your materials inside. The picture I have here that I'll hold up is one that's under construction that we designed up in the town of Orno. Very similar to, in fact, identical, except for this one's a little bit longer than the one in Orno. But you can see the arches that are up in the building, a concrete wall. The black is a bitumastic sealant, kind of like what you put on a foundation wall to waterproof it. It protects the concrete from the sand and salt. And then the floor of the building is paved. We don't do concrete in these buildings because salt and concrete don't interact too well. One's got a low pH and one's got a high pH, and they just don't react very well. So we use pavement on the inside of these buildings. These are buildings that the Department of Transportation has been building a number of them. If you drive by most any main turnpike or Department of Transportation, you'll start to see these kinds of buildings popping up. Used to be they built those, we were talking about in the site walk, they look like a giant teepee. And they kind of got away from those because they weren't all that efficient and effective to build. And this seems to be what has been in favor mostly. This picture here is an outside view. The skin is not on this building yet, but that's what the building looks like from the outside. For our building, there's going to be 2 doors on the lower end and 2 doors on the upper end. And that's because the Public Works Director, Doug Foglio, wants to put a demising wall, dividing wall down about a third of the building so we can keep salt, just straight salt on one side and sand on the other side. And Doug explained it at the site walk, and I'll try to repeat it if I can get it right, but you're seeing more and more salt used on roads because of the economics of using salt as opposed to using mixed sand and salt. It's significantly less expensive to do that. So if you're around, you'll even see DOT a lot putting down just salt on the roads. And I think Doug said that it's like $125 a yard for sand and mixed salt, which, you know, if you're putting up, you're using 5,000 or 6,000 yards of sand a year, it starts to add up pretty quickly, and the salt's much less expensive. Inside the building, there'll be 2 doors. It'll be divided so you have salt on one side, a mixed pile on the other side. And again, the whole intent of this is to move this salt pile and sand pile that's outside inside the building. Then this area can be used more for staging, circulation, equipment, pipe, other materials that if you were out there you would see scattered around the site that Public Works operations need to operate. The existing building would continue to serve as equipment storage. We're not proposing any wells or septic systems. There's no public comfort facilities in there. There's a bathroom over here in this Public Works building. During the site walk, what we talked about was that this building is going to be placed over top of the old lagoons that are on the property. There are 2 lagoons that have been abandoned for 20 plus years, but they were old tannery lagoons, and Doug's not here to tell you the whole story, but there was a tannery in town, and they would take the waste product out here to the site, put them in the lagoons. That waste product was mostly animal fats, but there was some solvent materials that would be in that. So the DEP, we engaged the Department of Environmental Protection almost 3 years ago, Dennis, right? And the Department of Environmental Protection got involved through some coordination with them. The Board of Selectmen here was able to get the DEP to get involved. DEP funded a groundwater and a study on the site, which was completed this past year. A company called Ransom Environmental did it. A report was issued, and just the 17th, just this week, we got our VRAP, which is a Voluntary Response Action Program. It's a sign-off from the DEP that they've looked us over. They find the use is appropriate, that if we cover the lagoons with the sand and salt building, and there's a second one over here, if we fill it in and put a low permeable cap on it, they will consider it closed. We have some covenants on the property, basically saying that we can't put drinking water wells for public consumption on the property. The tests that came back for excavation purposes and stuff of the soils were below the main, they call it the regs exposure for workers. So that's fine, and there's a 700-page report with a bunch of exhibits I have that Gary will get with a CD that they gave me. But it came back pretty good. We'll be filing some deed covenants with the Department of Environmental Protection. I've given Gary the deed covenants, he has to run it by the town's attorney and stuff, and then we'll file that in. And the building is pretty much designed. We're with the funding in place. The Public Works Director would like to get this out to bid and start moving on it just as soon as possible, so he's not storing all this material outside, and move it undercover. It's a little more environmentally friendly to do that. The site plans are here, but I think I'll stay on this graphic. So up on the building, you'll have an upper level on the building. I think we sort of talked through that when we went on the site, so that the floor is one elevation, but you have the ability to load from a drop-off setting on the upper side, and also anchor it on the lower side. It's a more efficient way of operating the buildings. This is within the town's old or active gravel pit down low. All of the drainage from the facilities, all internally drains, goes down into the gravel pit. We have mostly this land will all continue to drain as it always has, with the exception that we won't be storing salt outside anymore. There still may be some raw sand outside, but it won't have the salt contaminants in it. This side of the building will be graded out so that there's actually a little bit of access down into the low end of the pit. All the drainage drains down in here into the working area of the pit, where it's the same principle as the transfer station operates. All the drainage in the transfer station goes down into the pit. Groundwater, I think I was just looking at the report. Groundwater is down anywhere from 7 to 20 some feet. There's some soil. If you go down, I think in the bottom of the pit, 10 feet, 15 feet, you're going to hit bedrock, and it's fractured. So they did find a little bit of, I call it some perching of the groundwater on top of the bedrock, but a lot of the groundwater goes down into the bedrock. Groundwater on the site, the study has it all working this way down towards
The brook.
the brook. I just looked at the name of it and I forgot it, but it's heading down towards the brook. They sampled the well as part of the investigation. They sampled the well on the site. They had a very low hit of toluene in it, and basically what toluene is some drug addicts will sniff it because it gives a high. It's also, if you ingest too much of it, it can affect your neurological conditions. But it was so low in the report, it was below the main exposure guidelines. It was almost non-detectable. They tested some other area wells. They had some hits in those wells, but those wells had nothing to do with this site. They had to do with the old closed landfill, they think. It's all in the report, but in the end they felt that this was a good reuse for the property. Obviously this property will be restricted by the DEP. It's not for residential use or anything like that. I don't think that's ever the intent, since we have a transfer station and trying to build a public works operation on the site. Tonight, I think we're here to sort of start that dialogue. We did put in a request for 4 waivers on the project. One of them, I put the request in, but I wonder if I even need to, since the DEP actually did all this groundwater geophysical study. If that just, so the report's about 700 pages. There's a 30-page summary report. The rest of it's all exhibits and stuff. So I can make copies for everybody for the next meeting, or I can, it's whatever the board would, if you have interest in reading a bunch of technical stuff. And the full report, which has a bunch of color graphics in it, I guess I would prefer just to give you a CD and not run a bunch of copies, because it's very, very expensive to run 10 copies of a 700-page report. So, but it's all public record. The DRAP letters with Gary now. So I guess the question would be is, do I need to ask for a waiver for that? We asked for a waiver because Sebago Technics didn't do a groundwater, but the DEP came in and did a full study. So maybe we don't even need to do one. The other was a nitrate nitrogen study. We're not proposing any subsurface wastewater. And I'm not sure it's actually a waiver request, but I put it in there because I was trying to see if it was actually a performance standard. But we asked for the waiver of a formal stormwater management plan because I'm discharging into the pit bottom. There is a narrative in there on how we'll handle stormwater to get it down into the pit, but we're not proposing any formal detention, or because it's all internally drained, it would be it would be ineffective to really do anything at that level. And there's one other waiver in there.
Transportation.
Hazardous waste, and we're storing sand and salt inside the building. We're not storing petroleum products or any sort of other materials in there. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the board if you have questions of me or Gary. Doug's not here, but we'll try to answer it. I would say that I think I inadvertently, I went ahead and sent out notices to the abutters. My understanding is that I probably should have waited to do that for the actual, because this isn't the public hearing.
Correct.
I probably should have done that for the next one, so I apologize to anybody here from the audience if I sent you a public notice, but glad to have you here tonight anyway. So with that.
This is an informational meeting, correct?
Correct, you need to set we've done the site walk, you will need to set the public hearing date this evening.
Okay. At this point, board members?
You want to, okay, one of the waivers, is that what we're?
No, it's an informational meeting, so we'll
Okay.
wait and do that.
Gotcha.
7 o'clock next meeting?
I was thinking the 16th.
What do we got on what do we got coming up, Tammy?
On September 2nd right now, you've got the scheduled site walk for Connolly Point.
That's it. And that's it.
And then depending on whether or not you
But the
set
public
any
hearing will
public
be at
hearings
7.
tonight.
What?
Don't we want to get this rolling?
Yeah.
So you'd have the summary report for us by then?
Yeah, I have it. I'll just make copies of just the summary piece of it, if that makes sense.
Would the executive summary be enough?
Yeah, there's actually a 2-page executive summary, and then there's the actual VRAP from the DEP I could provide. That's probably more meaningful because when you read through it, they talk about OMHs, which is oil and hazardous materials. They talk about regs, and there's a whole bunch of acronyms in there that, to tell you the truth, I had to sit and spend a few hours reading through, and I'm more than happy to give you that piece, but the executive summary encapsulates it all and tells you about what they did and what they found.
Okay. What's the board's thoughts?
Next possible meeting.
Yeah. Because it'll
Say next meeting.
Yep.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, September 2nd, 7
Okay.
p.m. Do public hearing.
Okay.
And then, do we put them on the agenda for later in the night? We do have a communication from the code enforcement officer. It is a primary use in that the village and agricultural zone, so that part's okay. The code enforcement officer has some issues before they can get a building permit, but that's not our issues.
Yes.
I think other than that, submittals.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Let that roll off.
Thank you, Owen. Information that the planning board should probably request. We should know what the groundwater depth is, and I'm going to have Owens explain what internally drained means to the board, so you guys will know what that means. And that is directly related to the depth of groundwater. The report says they're not in close proximity to a brook, but I think Owens spoke about a brook nearby. That location is not on any maps that I've seen, so that location should be documented. I would like to see groundwater modeling. I think Owens knows the direction of the aquifer, but that should also be a document you guys should be looking at.
Does that, excuse me, Glenn, does that tie in with a stormwater management plan?
I'm not sure if it does or not.
No, it does not.
It does not, you
No.
think? Okay,
No,
Groundwater
It says the same thing.
separate.
okay.
full separate issue.
The fire marshal doesn't require review or permit for this structure. The deed covenants, I think you should be reading to know exactly what those say. And Owens, that's all I have to say. If you can explain to the board what internally drained means.
Thank you, Glenn. So internally drained means that there's no direct discharge from the site. In other words, when you have a development or a project that, say, builds parking lots or new buildings, and it rains and water runs off from that site, it may go out directly into ditches, or it may go into a pipe that discharges into an adjacent property or directly into a brook or downstream. This site, everything discharges into the bottom of the gravel pit. So it's all drained within the property. There's no direct discharge that goes after the property. The drainage goes down into the bottom of the pit. It will disperse at the bottom of the pit. It will infiltrate down into it and eventually gets into the groundwater on the site. As opposed to a detention pond, or you've seen developments with these detention ponds that hold the water, and then it holds it back so it releases it slowly as it goes off the site. Well, that's because it's not held wholly within the site. It doesn't infiltrate into the site. It doesn't go back down into the ground on the site. It discharges off the site and can impact the downstream. More runoff can go off the site. In this case, that doesn't happen. It all goes down into the bottom of the pit.
Where are the drains?
What?
Where are the drains?
It's the ground. It's
The ground is the drain?
Mhm.
Okay, but nothing inside the building?
Well, it rains on the building, it falls off the side of the building.
Right, that it's not going to leak into the building and have
No,
to drain?
I hope
Okay.
not.
Well, I thought it was the ground, but then when you started talking about drains,
I guess I'm speaking as, not as the chair, but as a board member. I've got two big issues with it. One is runoff. I'd like to see this saying that it's all internally drained. And the stormwater management plan, because I think you've got two big issues. You've got a salt collection there. You are putting it into a culvert, which is concentrating it and putting it down into a detention area. You do show in the drawings it's going to a detention area. We do have a stream next to it. It's Strawmill Brook? I forget what it's called. Bartlett Brook. So it's there. I think personally, I have a huge issue with not having a stormwater management plan.
So, what the stormwater management plan, I guess
I'm worried about, because you've only proposed a small apron around it, so you're still leaving a highly gravel soil, so it's prone to erosion and sediment runoff from it.
But where will it go?
That's what I want to see.
It'll go nowhere. It'll just stay into the pit.
I want to see it. No offense, but I don't believe you.
Okay. So how do
I don't think the town has. I don't think the town has. We've been burnt before by taking the engineer's words. I want to see it in writing. I want to see it with a stamp on it. That's my personal opinion. That's not. I'm not speaking for the board. I'm speaking as a board member.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Is a written narrative acceptable, or do I need to go out and survey the entire property and do topo? Which is
I definitely like to see topos. That's for sure.
no, not down the pit. That's probably $10,000, $15,000.
Because we only see a port. We don't see the whole plot on our drawings. All we see is a section of it, and I'd like to see the whole plot and how it impacts.
Nope.
That's personally. That's
So-
one. That's not. I'm not part of the. I'm saying as a member. I'm not saying it as a chair.
That brook isn't really that far off the backside of the.
But we don't discharge directly. Okay, so would it be acceptable to maybe take Glenn and go on a walk so you can see how it all goes down to the pit, that there's no way that water from the sand and salt building drains directly into the pit? The other option is there's no way I'd be back by the second. This is several weeks worth of topographical work that we have to do.
I guess. I'm sorry, Gary.
May I? If we had gone on the sidewalk down in the lower part of the pit, you could have walked around and see that you're at the lowest part there. There's nowhere to go but up for any water to flow out of that depression area.
But you got a perfect gravel pit, so that is not going to retain water. It's just going to perk right through it.
Right? It does today. It has for thousands of years.
Yeah, and now we're putting salt down directly into it.
Much less than we're doing today.
Well, actually, the salt,
Where's
which
the
is
salt
outside
stays
now, is
inside?
going to be undercover in the building. So the only water that you're going to see is coming off the outside of the building.
Anytime you go around one of these, Lee J, they're not clean. They're always There's crap
There's
all
always
around.
a little bit of salt at either end where they're loading or off unloading. But you're taking a lot of material that's outside now and putting it undercover, the exposure is going to be a lot less.
Yeah, but dilution is the solution to pollution. And right now, you're putting it down in one big area. You're putting 3 culverts down into one culvert, which is going down into the pit. So you're concentrating it in
But
one
we
area.
have a DEP report. I mean, I can print it costs a few $1,000s, but I'll print everybody the 700 pages of reports to circulate it around. And the DEP has done a full groundwater study. They issued a VRAP letter that says this use is acceptable for the application and the site. And that comes from the DEP that includes groundwater studies and everything.
I mean, like I said, I'm
I
a member
can
of the
see what
board. I'm
you're
not.
saying.
I mean, we went to the Department of Environmental Protection on this project. So I'm not sure what else I can do. I mean,
This is for, I understand what Kurt's saying. In the routine, there'd be a little bit of salt dropped when you're loading or unloading or whatever. But what happens if there's a massive accident? Like somebody dumps a whole load by mistake or something. I mean, who knew Exxon Valdez was going to do what it did?
I mean, I don't know how I can address that short of, I'm not sure how I could address that. I mean, it would require a monumental groundwater hydrology study and well, we'll never build this thing this year because, I mean, the what ifs, I mean, it's no different than any other sand and salt storage shed that if somebody spills salt water out there, I mean, I'm not sure what else I can do to provide you with, you know, if a sand spills, the salt pile has been thousands of tons of salt have been stored up there, and we've done all this background analytical testing on it, and the background information that we're getting down gradient is mostly some hits from tollines and other contaminants from the old lagoons. They didn't discern any appreciable sand and salt. So I'm not sure what else I can do. What you're asking for, I'm going to go back on this. So what you're saying to me is okay, you're asking me to do an analysis of the entire aquifer. If sand and salt fills out there, a salt pile spills out there, and it goes down into the groundwater, you're saying, well, what's the dispersion in that groundwater? What's the impact of that aquifer? And that's a monumental undertaking. I'm willing to underdo it because I'd love to do the work, but I'm just cautioning you that is a major undertaking.
I'm sorry. Gary was next.
You missed this.
I'm sorry.
I understand
I'll
the
get to this.
concern, Kurt, but I think we all have to think that we're probably going to have at least a 90% reduction in salt runoff because of what we're doing. We have an outside uncovered pile today. It's always been uncovered. And I would suggest another site walk. I'm sorry that we didn't go down below and this concern wasn't raised, because if we went down below, this conversation would already be over. You would feel comfortable about the level of that down below.
I guess let me go, Dennis, you're next.
We have had sand and salt up there for 20 some odd years. The water runs off of those salt piles, and it runs exactly where all this water runs and will run off from this building. They've done study after study to see if there's any contamination in the aquifer, right, of sand and salt. It isn't there. What makes you think that once we cover it, that we would have to prove where the water's going? I mean,
I guess I got two.
you're 20 years late and $1 short. I mean, it really boils down to the fact that we're going to take care of 99% of the problem by putting it in the building. And we're worried about.
Well, I guess I got to look at it another way too, Dennis.
Yeah.
When we have an applicant that's not the town that comes in,
Yeah.
we make sure that the town's interest is protected. So,
Town owns all this land.
but I'm not. You know what I mean?
We own the land all the way to the brook and on the other side of the brook.
But I mean, we had an applicant earlier tonight that was talking about making a new structure,
Yeah.
and that changed the use of that property. Just so because we have it existing, I think the burden's on the town to make sure. We need to be more vigilant than an applicant. The town needs to be more vigilant than an applicant does. They need to set the standard.
I need to understand is the issue, so think of the gravel pit as a big bowl. And we're draining down into that big bowl. And that's where the water goes.
Where's your groundwater level? Where's the height of that stream?
Well, there's been a groundwater study. I can provide all of that data. But so the groundwater, I can provide you that the groundwater's down 8 feet or 10 feet, and I can provide you that the stream's 300 feet away.
We don't have any of that on our drawings.
Is that all you're asking for?
And that's,
Yeah, I know she mentioned
Lee has something.
I guess I want to take it in a little bit different direction because of some of the things that I'm hearing for conversation. Are you concerned about if they are going to have the water just disperse out there, and you're concerned about groundwater? Is there less of a concern if they detain or retain the water?
oh yeah, totally.
So what you're saying is you'd like to at least see possibly retention or detention design? And the only reason I ask is because inevitably the water is going to perk anyway.
Right now we're sheeting it off. We're sheeting that water everywhere.
So if I do a detention pond, my outfall of the detention pond, all that water goes to the same place it's going to go if I don't detain it.
Correct. Unless you do some sort of retention.
But
clay line, you're
retention,
going to have to do clay
it's still got to go someplace. It's going to
I
it's going to go down into the
I
ground.
understand, but if
No
that
matter
is
what I do,
something
it ends
that-
up in the same place.
I think if that is something though that satisfies a concern of the board to design retention, than it is to just sheet flow it. I mean, I think that's I want to say an easy fix. It's certainly a lot less expensive than doing full hydrogeologic analysis.
I need to back up too. I'm just one, we have not got an opinion from the rest of the board before we go off in a different direction. I'm just saying one
And
number.
I'm asking that question because I'm trying to get clarification for you folks as to what is it you're really looking for.
I'd like to see how, look down from the top of it and see that, okay, it is 300 feet from the edge of the big
Yeah.
gravel pit, Because I've never walked out across that. I've gone down the brook, out to a little pond that's way out the back.
What we could do is I can create a composite plan based on what we have that shows where this is in respect to the property over top of an aerial that shows the stream. And then that'll tell you how far it is from this site. It'll give you a visual of where this site is. That we certainly can do.
And the EPA
Do you know-
report does say where the groundwater level is.
It does.
In the 3 pages, not the 7.
Yeah,
I don't have that kind of time.
that's what I was gonna get to. You had mentioned the DEP study. If you could just give us the bullet points of that one section.
Do you have the elevation of the brook? I mean, is it compared to the bottom of the pit where it's going?
Well, the ultimate discharge of groundwater is the brook.
Yeah. So it will get into the groundwater. and
Ultimately, that's
flows
where it
in that
goes, yeah.
direction. Has anybody done any studies of the brook to see if there is, it seems to me that if there was gonna be salt in the brook, it would be there
Well, the
because
DEP did not study the brook.
there's a lot more going now than there will be when we're done.
Maybe they did take some surface water samples of the brook. I'll have to look. I don't remember if they did. I'll have to look at that to see if they did. What I'm trying to understand is, am I talking about, are we talking about a groundwater modeling study, which is tens of thousands of dollars?
No.
What I want to see is I want to see the big picture. I want to see, you've proposed a discharge spot. What's the elevation of that? Where's the groundwater of that? Where's the stream in relationship to that? It's well-drained soils. So it's not going to, basically it's not going to perk the soil. It's going to perk right through it. It's not going to.
That's correct.
So it has the ability, if you got toluene and benzenes and stuff like that, which are highly soluble, and they're also highly volatile, and they're still in it, somewhere in there they're getting trapped down below a layer that's coarse. That coarse layer would allow volatiles to come back out of it again. So something's down there that's holding that
Well,
in.
it's bedrock. So there's overburden over bedrock. So they looked at the bedrock aquifer and they looked at the overburden aquifer. And I can't remember every little detail of the report, but they looked at contaminants in the overburden, contaminants in the bedrock, and I remember mostly looking at the superficial data because that's what I was most concerned about in the pond. But the DEP did their study. They came back and said, you know, we're going to sign off on this site. While there is some contamination, it's below the MEGs, the main exposure guideline ratings, and it's all in that report. So they signed off on the report through the VRAP process. So I mean, I can provide you with all of that. And
Gary?
So Kurt, if we broadened this aerial shot out here, included the brook, a scale drawing so you could see that. And I just think that considering what we're doing, putting all this material inside, that a PE signed letter, I would hope would be enough for the board to document that this is an internally drained pit. It's in DEP's documents. They've done 2 field studies with geologists down there. I don't know that they did any elevations of that, but certainly you can attach.
they have groundwater elevations, and I think we provided them with a benchmark so that they could do groundwater elevations. But
Remember, the plume, what we're doing here is greatly reducing how fast these plumes are going to move through the soil because we're capping it. And it's a remarkable improvement to what it is today.
I agree.
Keep that in mind.
I want to see, for me, I want to see where we are, where was our groundwater at discharge point. You know, at the discharge point, where's the groundwater and where's the stream in relationship to that? And what's the elevation of that stream?
I know, but I have to show them.
So you want to see a profile?
A profile? I can
Well,
create a.
I mean, I'm decent with the topo. I can work with the topo. I just,
Shoot some grades for the bottom of the pit. Just to give them elevations. I mean, if you had an elevation right now of that discharge point down below in relation to the groundwater in the stream, you'd probably feel better. wouldn't you?
yeah.
So,
You do.
Like I said, I'm one member. I mean, it's
so
6 more decisions.
I would say I'm not sure I can, September 2nd, I'm not sure I can get the field work, write it all up, process the data, and get you a submittal in timely manner. I just can't.
Do the 16th
Physically,
then?
it's, yeah, for the 16th could be better.
Is that okay with everybody? Lee?
I'm trying to figure out which week I'm taking off. I'm going away for a week, I think it's that week.
We'd still have a quorum if you weren't here, but I mean, your call.
Yeah, 16th will work.
Okay. Is that okay with everybody then? Move to the 16th then?
Yeah, that gives me
Move
enough
it to the
time.
16th?
Yes, please.
Hopefully I understand what you're looking for, so we'll.
I guess
we'll do our best.
my biggest thing is, so even if you take a truck pulls in DEF fluid or something like that, leaks out of the truck, transfer fluid. Now it's going down 3, you get 3 culverts. It's all being dumped down one pipe to a discharge point down in the pit. So that's worst case scenario. Judy's point, an accident occurs on the site. Instead of sheeting it over a large area, we are now concentrating it down one spot. And I just want to see that to make sure you're highly drained, your soils are highly drained, so it's not going to do anything to purify that before it reaches the edge of the property line.
Is that really a fair review criteria for anybody?
Questions?
We do it, I guess the thing is, we do it, we make it, other people, other site plans, we make them give us a groundwater study. I mean, not a groundwater study, stormwater management.
Question?
Well,
Based
stormwater is
on-
different than groundwater.
Based
Right,
on what
right.
you were just asking, Mr. Chairman, the catch basin that's going to be the central catch basin location, is there going to be a oil water separator put in that?
Nothing on the drawing.
Wasn't going to. I mean, that's just something that, my experience with oil water separators is they don't work.
They fill up with sand
Right.
and
They don't work.
Exactly.
Because that's down 12 feet. The discharge of that thing's down 12 feet on that central one from the surface.
Well, that's because the whole grade's coming down to the bottom of the tannery lagoons, and the water's down another 10, 15 feet from there.
Yeah, so you're 8 feet, down, your rim's at 311 and your discharge is at 304.
Yeah, 30, the bottom, that's the bottom of the current pit, 304 is. So so the bottom of the elevation of the sand and salt shed, the finished floor elevation, is basically the bottom of the existing tannery limits. Go
You're
out-
4 feet below.
Well, I gotta look. So
You're
the-
312 for the bottom of the floor and you're
313
316.
Well, it's 313, 316, so yeah, I'm going down 3 feet there, that's correct. I'm taking out 3 feet down through there. And then we're coming out to the catch basins, and then what I can do is I'll mark on the plan, on that monitoring well, there's a well in there. I'll give you what the groundwater elevation is on that well, I'll just specify, because the DEP did that. I think it's down like 10 feet or something like that.
I'm thinking probably the easiest way is to get some elevation shots between that catch basin and the brook from a profile and show where the groundwater levels are based on the report. So that you can show where the bottom of catch basin is.
I can do a hydraulic profile.
Just get some shots along that.
It's a lot harder than just a few shots.
I understand.
Okay.
I understand.
I want everybody to
I
understand.
understand that, but it's
A few
probably
days
still
worth of
by-
field work to gather that information.
I
That's
think
okay.
for what they're looking for, it's probably the easiest way to describe
Okay.
it, is to show elevation of the,
So, Kurt, that's probably getting at what you're asking, that's probably what I can do, is do a cross-section through the site
Yeah.
that shows you existing grade, proposed grade, and groundwater elevation.
And if you could reference it to the stream.
Yep. And that's probably, I have groundwater information from the studies. We just have to do the field work to gather enough field information to run the profile through there. So, okay, that's probably the best thing to do. Okay.
Members of the board? Lee, are you okay?
Yeah.
Judy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Judy?
Yeah.
Lee J? I'm not a member of the board, but I mean.
I'm not, no, if that's,
Advisor to the board.
if that's what is gonna make you comfortable, then I think that's probably the least expensive way for the town and also the most effective way to show you that information that you're looking for.
Right now, we have nothing, besides the locus, we have nothing that references the site to a stream. But it does adjoin the stream. The site adjoins the stream. Glenn, do you have anything?
I know Owens mentioned that Gary has the VRAMP documents.
Yes.
Let's see, deed covenants.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have all those. We just got the VRAP on the 17th, and yesterday we drafted a draft form of the covenants, which I gave to Gary that he would like to run by the town's attorney before we.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come tonight and hand out a bunch of copies until
Yep.
the town's attorney has a chance to review it to make sure that there's not.
But those are boilerplate from DEP, right?
They are with some specific language,
No,
but
they're specific. to
Oh, are they?
the-
Okay,
yeah.
You'll have some comfort when you read this to see what we have to do to these things.
okay.
And like I said, we just had it, so I didn't really have enough time to get it to the board because it just came in on today's the 19th, so it came in 2 days ago.
And do you have a document that shows the direction of the aquifer? Did I hear you say that earlier?
I have a 700-page beautiful report for you.
Does it have
You want it in CD or printed?
Does it have a map that shows the modeling of the aquifer?
It has
The
a.
direction of the water, groundwater?
This is just the cover. Yes, it does. It has that. It has the whole geophysical plan that they did.
Okay.
I'll provide you everything they have, and you'll have to draw your own conclusions if it's what you're looking for or not. So
Okay.
they have a groundwater elevation contour map,
That'd be
conceptual site model. So they have a whole bunch of stuff in there. That
Okay.
Yeah, the groundwater elevation map would be good too. It's already there, right?
I don't know if it's in the form you're looking for it in.
It's not graphic. Or is it
Well,
just
there
data
is
points?
graphics, but it's not going to be in a profile like what you. you can look at that plan and see topo and see groundwater elevation. Usually what they'll do is they'll just show groundwater elevations. It won't have the other topo and it won't have a profile.
Okay.
So it's very hard to,
Reference it to a surface.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the last question I have is, it's more of a cost standpoint with that report. How do you want that report?
I think if you just highlight some points, I mean, we don't need 10 copies of the 700-page report.
Somebody should have it.
You're right,
Partial file doesn't even-
yeah.
So I mean, if that comes in a CD, I mean, if we have the executive summary at our end, you said that cleared
Yeah,
up a lot.
I plan to give it to like I said, I just got everything, so I plan to give the town a digital copy because that's actually probably the best form to keep it over time.
If we could have 2 of those, I'd be fine with that, if the board is fine with that.
I don't plan on reading it.
And I'll provide the executive summary and the VRAP, and it's a much smaller package of information.
Okay.
That might be helpful for that. So, okay. Good. All right, we're
Thank
there.
you,
We're there.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda for this evening. Yeah. I'm sorry. We have David Abbott for representing the Brooks Dance Studio. What is it? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, we have Robert McSorley, David Abbott, and Doug Fogdale Jr. representing Brooks. Hey, Glenn, one thing, or Tammy, on the Danny Albert application, they have the wrong zone. They have the zone listed as Shoreland, and we don't have a shoreline zone.
Right.
So that just needs to be corrected on the application.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt.
Okay, sorry.
That's fine.
You must be Robert McSorley.
I am not.
Then I know you're not David Abbott or Doug Fogel Jr., so...
I'm Rob McSorley.
Oh, okay.
But the only person who calls me Robert these days is my mother. So
Mother?
Please go with Rob. My name is Rob McSorley, and I'm with Selectmen Technics, and I'm representing Abbott Investments, LLC, and the Foglios relative to this petition that's before you. What we're proposing on a 2.23 acre site is a 6,000 square foot commercial building to house a dance studio. The building will be 60 by 100 in size, and with that we have the planned amenities, of course, for the parking. We do have a dumpster shown on our site plan, although we're not sure, but we think the proprietor is going to carry out on garbage. We also have a stormwater pond, which we have designed based upon MDEP Chapter 500 standards, and we have supplied or submitted into MDEP for that permit, and I'll go over that a little bit more in a second. We are in the GP, or the General Purpose District, and I've kind of outlined in the application all the site plan criteria and how we've met them. I can go ahead and go through all of those, but I assume if you had questions that you will go over those. We had met with the review staff prior to this meeting. There were a couple requests that they wanted us to look at. We do have a stream that's on the back side of the property, and we had the setback shown on the plans, but we did not have it labeled. So we have gone ahead and labeled that. They wished us to provide a T turnaround at the far end of the parking area as you drive in, so that the city's emergency vehicles can do a 3-point turn movement. In addition to providing that T turnaround, they wanted us to show that it actually worked. And as part of the information we provided was an auto turn analysis that has your single, your typical small town fire truck that goes in and comes out. And we do that for most communities anyway. So the last thing was we did request a couple waivers. It was requested that we put each waiver on a separate sheet, which we've done, and I believe is in your package. The three waivers that we are requesting is one for the hydrological study. We are producing way less than the 800-gallon limit in the code. Also, the hazardous waste storage and transmission. The only storage of any chemicals will be household cleaning supplies, which is typical. And so there's not really any hazardous waste that we'll be storing or transmitting on site. And then the waiver for a nitrate study. Our flow for this building is 236 gallons a day, which is way less than a single-family house, so I thought that waiver was appropriate. We have submitted, like I said, into MDEP. We applied for two approvals, one relative to a permit by rule for within the stream setback. We have no construction there. We do have some slopes, and part of our stormwater system is within that 75 feet. They have reviewed that. They've asked us to make sure that we mark the wetlands in those two areas. And on the more recent plans, I believe that you have, we've shown that there will be permanent markers installed. They did issue that permit by rule, so we have that. Relative to, we also submitted for a stormwater permit concurrently with that. You may have noticed the notice in the paper recently. They have reviewed that. They had some minor comments. We addressed those, and they have come back and they provided an email to us saying everything is fine. We're just waiting for the 30-day statutory time frame to be up, and you should be getting your permit after that time period. And we submitted a copy into that. And I want to thank Lee J for all his help. He was looking at the plans and getting back to me on questions and whatnot, and I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions.
Just a reminder to the board, this is an informational meeting, so no decisions
What's that?
tonight. It's an informational meeting. It's an informational meeting tonight. Is that better or worse?
Are you talking into the microphone?
I can try. Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm
Can
sorry.
you hear me?
No. Well, bring the microphone up. I'm sorry, I just,
You're a rather tall fella, so.
you,
Bad habit. I should know better. I'm more than 50% down.
that's better when you,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
1,000-gallon propane tanks. Board. I know we got to do site walk, public hearing, and all that stuff,
yeah.
but
Pretty much it's where the Shaw Brothers had their laydown.
Yes, correct.
Where they were driving in and out, that's gonna be the main road in.
Correct. Can I point out two more things? One, that access is a permitted access. It was permitted with DOT for commercial property that previously came through the board, a cabinetry manufacturer shop. When the economy kind of went south, they decided not to go forward with that. That area for that project was cleared, and we're basically going to occupy that cleared area. But that's exactly where it is, where Shaw Brothers has their lay down
Yeah,
there.
I see it was 2008, they gave you the road cut, so.
Yep.
May I ask you something? I looked at your application and I see all the statistics. What is on the outside of that building? It looks like metal strips.
I am not sure because I'm not an architect.
Well,
I think it's meant to be somewhat visually pleasing, and I can take note of that and get a definite answer for that unless...
I think it said something about a metal roof, but it didn't say anything about the exterior of
There's
the
a
building.
picture there, Judy. It's got
Yeah.
stone,
Pardon?
there's stone,
On the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah, it's stone on the bottom.
Is it a lot like,
Oh, it's in that one.
yeah.
Metal building. There'll be a metal building above.
What's his name?
Metal,
It'll be metal.
I'm trying to think, what is that?
What's his name? Oh, shoot. Is it like what Leo Bennett just put up? At
He's
his
got cloud.
property? Like
He's got clouds above the stone.
What's that?
no, not his store. At his house, he put up the big garage and it's got like the stone on the bottom?
Absolutely different. This is a conventional metal building.
And my concern is, right now, technically, the property does not have access. It's accessing a road, basically, even though you're calling it a driveway. This property does not have its own driveway to the highway. So the question then becomes to the town, does that driveway, is that really a road?
There is an easement in place for that section. I asked that same question, Kurt, so good for you.
Yeah, they have a deeded easement for access to that.
But do we have to name that as a road?
No, I don't believe you do, not at this time.
All right.
Isn't it more like a common driveway?
It looks like it's laid out for a common entrance. to
It
me.
looks like there's a lot of development going behind it.
Yeah.
So
There's a
that's,
potential.
that's what I'm wondering.
It will have to be named eventually. Right now, with one structure on that, our ordinance doesn't require it to be named.
Okay.
But that was a good pickup.
We're trying to work on design principles as we go along, because Waterboro is starting to grow. Is there any way that you can make that look more like a New England building than a metal building? Is it something that you would even consider or think about? We have no ordinances where we can make you do that.
We would have to discuss that.
Yeah.
It's really not, I don't think I can give you an answer.
I understand. I just want you to know where we're coming from as we're trying to work through things. We're new at the design part of it.
Or you're looking maybe a facade on the outside facing the road that may look like that. Okay.
Could I have the mic for a second?
Sure.
Doug?
I'm Doug Foglio Jr., and this building is being located in the general purpose zone. And the idea when that zone was created was to establish businesses, professional, some maybe, but light industrial and other businesses. Now what we have is a young proprietor. She's 33 years old. She's going to run a dance studio. So, she's trying to get off the ground and get this thing going. She's outgrown the place she is. It's a lateral move within the town. But to require her to expend money on architecture, really, at this point, in this zone, there was a building previously approved here, much larger than this building. It's been reduced. The whole scope of the project has been reduced from what it was originally. But we've come back to the town for reapproval rather than a modification, because it is a different use, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. So, to try and require a big expense on her behalf isn't really, I don't think that's really a good direction to go. If you want to do that in the residential area or A&R, but GP, you're going to see in the future, hopefully, some other buildings come in, and that's the type of building that this zone is really.
I think 100% the opposite. I think we're going to go after the industrial buildings to make them look better. We can't really have a lot of say over the residential. You look at Victor's building that he built just down the street.
Yeah.
That's a visually appealing building.
Right? It's also a completely different use. Completely different. Those are professional offices. But it's more, what happens if you get light manufacturing? Are you going to ask for the same thing? A cabinetry building. That was a complete metal building. And you try to do something with the facade, but to try and change the design of the building is just cost prohibitive.
I disagree.
Yeah. Doug, it's just a request, because we have nothing in place that says that anybody has to do it.
That's right.
It's just a request.
Okay.
The board's been through this before, and as far as putting up the steel building, that's fine, we get that. The request is aesthetics only. If she can, she can. If you guys wanna look into it, great, but there's nothing that says she has to.
There's quite a bit of greenery between Route 202 and this building now, is there not? And you're not gonna get rid of that. So it's not gonna be like it's like Dollar General where it's standing out like a sore thumb, so it's.
No, we have especially have areas that we're preserving.
You know, your round sign, that's probably most of what's gonna be showing, isn't it? So it's, in that case, it is gonna be landscape, or that's gonna stay there, so it's not gonna be sticking way out, and it's.
No, and it looks like a nice landscaping plan.
Thank you.
Is that grass going to be maintained? Because that is going to get ratty fast, that great big section of grass
I
on
would
the
assume the
left-hand
stuff
side?
that's adjacent to the walks, yes. The stuff that's further away from the building, that's intended to go back to more of a natural type, like on the banks going back, and that's what our approval with MDEP was. The green area on the backside of the building, once we get away from the building, that will reestablish back to native.
I meant on the left side.
On the left side, that's where our stormwater pond is, and we have to maintain that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the next thing for the board is site walk, and then a public hearing on it. So we have a site walk already scheduled on the 2nd, so the 16th for, does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Judy?
Yeah. Yep.
That's the closest thing we can do.
No, we already have one on the 2nd.
We have one in a second, so. All right.
We could do, Lee J suggested earlier, doing site walk and public hearing at the same time, though.
On the 16th.
On the
For the
16th.
dance center?
Yeah, but we
Oh, we
already have
have-
one on 16.
So it would be the second public hearing of that night, because we have nothing else scheduled right now, right?
At this point, you have nothing else on your agenda.
So if we do the site walk and then the other public hearing and this public hearing,
That's possible.
All right.
does that work?
It's possible, yeah, I mean, scheduling it that way. If you get to both, you do. If you don't, there's nothing that says that you can't postpone or table that other public hearing to the next meeting.
Okay. Does that work for everybody on the board?
Yeah.
And I know it loads you up on a possible
I know.
bad night, but
Haven't had a vacation for 2.5 years.
People come from the top.
we'll send you notes.
I'll watch, oh,
We
wait,
can't
I'll watch
also
my
schedule just one, and then we need to keep the flow going.
I just think sidewalks, I mean, that's the only
Yeah.
issue in that.
Understood.
Does that work? Glenn, is that okay with you?
That's fine with me. I want to talk a little bit about, have you guys read my memo?
Yes.
I guess the issue I have is the parking. The plan shows 24 spaces with one ADA compliant space. The plan board needs to determine what parking will be required per section 5.03. The dance center is actually not identified in the parking requirements. It says, I didn't give you a page, so I'm trying to think of what that says.
There's one for theater and assembly, but it's based upon seats. There's
Yeah.
also one based upon retail use, and we are in the retail zone. And it's based upon your open shop space. And if you look at our main dance floors are about 4,200 square feet. If you divide out by the 200 that's required for retail, you get to 21 spaces. We have 24 plus the one handicap.
But you're not a retail space.
Well, that's the closest thing we are.
I know, and that's what I'm trying to explain to the board, that it's not clearly identified in the parking requirements.
I mean, I guess the two concerns I have on it would be, when we used to have the wrestling place in town, that was like a cluster getting through there at night. And then if you look at the dance studio that's in Sanford, when they have their
Recitals.
No recitals will be held
Recitals
here.
there. They don't have recitals.
The recitals will not be here.
But I mean, I look at that one in Sanford and that thing overflows fast.
I guess one of the things to consider is that look at the current location, which is not too far down the road from this current location. and whether we've had any issues there or not. They're right next to the post office, I believe, isn't that correct? Yeah.
I
So,
don't think there have been.
I mean, I think, it's my understanding it's gonna continue to operate the same way. This is just a new location, and they're currently on 202, south of here.
Will you have more students at a time? I noticed there are 3 different studios, so I assume you could have 3 different classes at the same time, no?
I guess
And now
you could,
it's-
yes, but it usually is the different classes are set up for different things.
Yeah,
So you got a big one and then 2 small ones. So it depends on what age group you're in. You didn't realize this is a drop-off type deal. Most of the kids are very young in the dance. I mean, they're definitely an older group. But most of these parents are bringing kids, dropping them off, and then picking them back up. So when it comes to parking and so on.
couldn't be any worse than the elementary school.
And just a point of clarification, the piece that Glenn is mentioning is at the end of the parking standard section. And what it says is use activities or facilities not specifically listed shall be placed in the category above, which the planning board determines is most similar in character to the proposed undertaking. When I looked at the use from a use standpoint, I considered it a public or private school, an educational facility, basically.
And if I can point also, we have delineated,
Isn't there overflow parking, or was that something else?
was that?
Isn't there overflow?
That's what I was getting to, you read my mind.
Okay.
We have the paid parking spaces, which are 24 regular and 1 handicap, but we have overflow grass parking off to this side, which could handle probably another 12, 14.
And that parking being overflow, even though it's grass, as I understand it, will be a compacted gravel under that because the fire department's requiring a turnaround area.
So that turnaround will not be paved?
It will be a grass.
Okay.
Is that the
Compacted
area
gravel.
is that the area that I asked if you were gonna keep it up as grass?
I thought you said the left side.
Yes, and you're talking about the right side?
The right side, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Article 5, Section 5.03 requires all parking areas to be surfaced. So the planning board's gonna wanna look at that grassy section they're declaring to be parking and see if that meets Section 5.03.
So once we determine required parking spaces,
You need to do
Then-
that first.
and then after that, then we can look at,
Yeah.
overflow would be just considered, it could be anything, right?
Well, it's a parking area.
But if it's not required, is it still?
Oh, I see your point. That's true, you're right. Yeah.
Does that work with everybody? That's a good point, I like that. I mean, once we establish criteria,
You need to establish the criteria first.
and then we can work out from there.
Yep.
It would be, just as, for sake, you want to keep your imperviousness down, so, as we actually thought had too much parking, and I think, we kind of tried to get it a lot so that we would have some spare spaces when we have the comings and goings, so.
BJ, do you remember what the numbers were for the school or?
Yeah, I've got it right in front of me. If you look at, I can give you several. Preschool, nursery, and primary school is 1 space for every 20 students, plus 1 space for every 3 employees. And if you look at it from a secondary and post-secondary school, it's 1 space for every 4 students, plus 1 space for every 3 employees.
We get more than that.
Yeah.
We would, max out around 40 kids.
It's 10 spaces, 3 teachers is 1 spot. What's the ADA requirement on?
I'd actually defer to Glenn on that because that's a building, that's more of a code issue.
I'd have to look at the requirements, and that's based on occupancy. And I don't have that information for you.
So it's at 24, we're still over.
I would suspect, I won't put all my money on it, but I would suspect that as part of their design, they looked at the ADA requirements, but certainly we can check that.
And we'll double check it. And we do have the ability to stripe the one on the other side, handicap. So that's not a big issue.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Judy, are you all right?
Yes.
Gwen?
I'm good.
Katie? Judy? Okay. So we'll see you on the 16th. Easy to stake out. the building and
Four
stuff?
corners of the building?
Yes, please.
And I'm sure it's already been done because of the wetland, but you might want to have Gary or someone go out and flag a little bit of that wetland just so that they can see where that delineation is.
Yeah, we can, when we flag that, we can put some,
Yep.
yeah, we can do that.
Kurt,
Thank you.
did you say the 16th?
16th, yes.
Okay.
We're doing this site walk and the public hearing on the 16th.
The same night as the
Yes.
salt shed?
Yes,
Okay.
2 public hearings.
So Tammy, do you send out notification on that? Because we sent out the notification for this meeting,
I'll
For
send
public
it out
hearing?
and you'll be
no,
good.
for tonight.
Okay.
There was already one sent out for tonight, so.
Do you have the green cards back for the ones that were sent out for tonight? I need those for the parcel file. The proof of mailing.
Excuse me. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep.
Next on the agenda, we have August 5th meeting minutes. Everybody was here. This is the quick meeting. We talked about the municipal salt shed and then adjourned. So,
It's a short one.
I make a motion to approve.
all good.
I think that's a good point for
I'm
your
just-
conversation.
Is something we can help you?
I was here for the informational meeting on that. I don't know if I was saying anything.
Oh,
It's just informational, so we're not taking public, we'll do that at on the 16th, we'll get public comment on that. That way it's captured in one spot. And you're certainly, if you want to write something in, to send it in, you can do that also.
the next one, don't sit to go, make sure we know. I thought you were with the rest of the crowd, so, yeah, all right.
So I can go, it's not.
Yeah, no, we're,
We're gonna widen the northbound side of 202. Don't worry about it.
Thanks.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the minutes.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Judy will second, is there any discussion on the August 5th minutes? None? All those approved? All those in favor? Approved. Lee J.
Yep.
We have draft bylaws.
Yep. I passed out to you a copy of the draft bylaws as well as the draft design standards based on all of the comments that you provided me the last time. What I've done is I've turned off the
Oh, I'm sorry, am I beeping?
I turned
Sorry.
off the strike-throughs and underlines so that it's a little easier for you to read.
Okay.
Take a look at it again, and let's plan on workshopping it at some point in the future.
What's that word?
Yeah, it's the typeset from the computer. Form and massing. It should be which are
Okay.
often elements.
okay.
So, I think when you're ready on the bylaws, you can approve them or accept them. They do have to go to the select board for their consideration. But there's no public hearing or anything needed for those. Those are your operating process. And then the design standards issue, we'll probably need to workshop again, and then at some point hold a public hearing if and when you're ready to go with that.
I agree, I think the design standards we need to get
Yep.
in place soon.
Yep.
I think
Just
that-
hope you were listening tonight.
Yeah.
I think the couple of things we should get right is that nothing visible. How'd we phrase that about they have air conditioners on the roof,
Yep.
that kind of
Yeah,
thing?
Yep,
there was,
And
I fought through it, yeah.
Okay.
I've adjusted
Three
that.
tides will be covered.
If we get nothing else in place, and then maybe no visible flat roofs, I think that's how we,
I've made some of those adjustments.
if we can't get everything,
Right.
we ought to at least get the ducks
Yep.
out there.
It'd be nice to give them a little incentive, maybe to go a little, stuff that's a little more green these days. I mean, 2,000 gallon propane tanks is a lot,
2,000 gallons.
That's a lot of propane.
Yeah.
I know it's cheap right now,
So that's a once a year refill for that building.
Is
but,
there?
well,
That's wrong.
depends.
Over.
R5 insulation on the walls, maybe not.
Was it?
Okay, I'm sorry. Communication, Gary, do you have anything for us?
No, thank you.
Lee J?
No, I think I've already done that.
Okay. Are you here for a reason?
Yeah, for me.
Oh, okay. Sure you want to talk more? She seems like she wants to stay a little longer. Any other new business?
Nope.
Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
Judy's motion to adjourn. There's a second. Lead seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor? Adjourn the planning board meeting at 8:34.